Okay, so now the engagement is a thing that's happening in the root. And this time, instead of being affectionate, we're going to go, this engagement is fake. That's the issue. Let's be emotional about it. The issue is that this engagement is fake. Isn't that a problem?
If it's fake, doesn't that make it a non-issue for us? It's also a convenient cover story whenever we want to leave the mansion. And it ensures you won't be put under anyone else's care for the time being. In that sense, playing along comes with its benefits, does it not?
I don't think my mind quite got that far yet. But when you put it like that... But if you think your father is trying to solidify my connection to the family...
He will hardly insist we marry straight away, Morgan. And even if he did, annulments and divorces exist.
Aw, that's so sad. That's...
In many ways, this place is all about appearances. And the appearance of an engagement is convenient. That's all that matters.
I suppose that's true. As always, he had a way of calmly talking me from the ledge. I was glad he was so calm, though I didn't understand how he could maintain composure in the face of something like this. He's probably had to deal with a lot worse, let's be honest. Appearances aren't always easy to keep up, though.
We will manage.
Okay. Music change. Does that mean we're back? We're back, baby! Okay, let's go to the schwanky engagement party. I'm sure it'll be fine. Everything's continuing as normal. Okay, what am I doing here, guys? What's happening? Ooh, affectionate. Delightful. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with kisses for the sweet ending. Ooh. This is when he was talking to us about, like, you know, if we could find Ruben and he wants to take you back, do you want to go? And this time I'm not being affectionate. I would need to think about it. I looked down, unsure what to say or how to say it. I thought I'd made up my mind on this. Even if I could go back. Endgame was waiting for me there, and it wasn't that different from being here. Well, except the whole criminal organization part. But the danger, the being treated like a weapon to show off, that would be the same. But I'd already made my decision to stay. If the only thing waiting for me back there was joining an Esper army and being the new queen rank, if it was an organization that would abduct me off the street for that purpose, at least here I could be more than that. At least here I wasn't a small part of some grand mission to keep global peace. CAISSA's goal was more humble, building a better place for a few people who had nowhere else to go, but that felt more satisfying too. Still, it was difficult to make a definitive call on that now that the opportunity had arisen. I took a deep breath, still trying to organize my thoughts. I would need to reflect on it before giving you a serious answer on that, but in this moment, I don't think I would choose to go back. I can't say I'm not homesick, or that the prospect of being able to return isn't enticing in a way. But even if I go back, it won't be the same.
Perhaps it could be.
I stopped him with a finger to his lips. I'm not saying I want that. Besides, what would your father say about you trying to dump your fiancé on some detective from the Triad? He chuckled softly.
I shudder to think.
He slid his hand under my chin.
And I don't want you to believe I need you here for any other reason than because you are yourself. It is you I want to be here, not a queen-ranked Esper. You are more than that here. More than that to me.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that too. That was a sweet moment. And remember, I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I came here with Jack. But I did choose him.
Somehow, it's irritating to hear you say it that way in particular.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you, CAISSA. Even Morgan's getting impatient for jackfruit, it seems. Gosh darn it.
Perhaps I shouldn't have asked something like this so suddenly. With that man lurking around, I don't want to let you go. But I need you to know I am willing to if it's what you want.
I'm not going anywhere. Okay, are we back? We're back! I chose Jack. Ended up on your route somehow, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's fine. Okay, what do we confess to Dad this time? Do. Ooh, we're cautious. Okay. Karis, what's your response to the cautious response? Why are you asking me something like this?
Is it strange to want to know if my son's fiancée truly loves him?
I'm his fiancé because of you. If you were worried about me loving him, shouldn't you have confirmed that first?
Well, of course, the two of you had that charming little date.
My mouth snapped shut. He definitely knew that wasn't a date. But I couldn't be sure how wise it would be to just say it. Karis laughed at my obvious discomfort. Is he teasing me?
At any rate, I can see why my son likes you.
Ugh, this man.
CAISSA has expended quite a lot of energy to protect you, Morgan. From the moment he first identified you. He has always been soft-hearted for having grown up in this environment. Perhaps Deimos' lingering influence. But I want to make sure the person I place by his side will stay there. So I ask you again, do you love CAISSA?
What answer did he expect? Even if I cared nothing for CAISSA, I could hardly look his father in the eye and say that. Besides, Ooh, okay, we get a secondary choice. For this one... This time we go affectionate. Okay. We were a little, resistant, and now we're like, okay, fine, I admit. I did love him. Even after telling myself I shouldn't. Even after hoping not to. I really did.
That expression tells me all I need to know. I am glad to see you care for him that way.
I let out a strangled groan as Kara set a hand on my shoulder. And it didn't matter who he was. I was too embarrassed to attempt to pull away. It was worse that he found it so funny. Of all the things that could make this man laugh, it had to be how stupidly hard I'd fallen for his son.
Perhaps you won't understand it, but I must be restrained in how I treat him. Deimos suffered for being the favored son, and that is not a fate either of us wanted for CAISSA. So I keep my distance, and others see no need to target him.
So it's for his protection?
If they believe hurting him will not hurt me, there's no reason to hurt him.
That's so sad.
I love my family, Morgan. Perhaps they're the only ones I love, but I can watch the rest of the world burn if my family is safe. And now CAISSA is the only blood relative I have left.
Okay, are we back? We are back. Okay. Well, that was kind of a nice alternative of the Karis conversation. I like that. What was entertaining? Against your better judgment.
Entertaining as it might have been, I suspect it's best you did not.
He cupped my cheek, a faint smile appearing over his features.
I'm very pleased to hear your feelings. Though it's somewhat irritating my father heard them before I did.
Your father asked me before you did. CAISSA pulled me into a tight embrace, pressing his cheek to my hair.
Something that is vexing, to be sure.
You're hearing my feelings now.
Yes.
He pulled me just a little closer.
Words like love don't come easily to me. For a long time, the only person I loved in this world was my brother. So, imagine my surprise when I realized how much I'd come to love you in so short a time.
Aww.
That wasn't my expectation when I brought you here, and yet now, it is the sole reason I wish you to stay.
We stood like that for a while, reveling in our newfound closeness. Though we'd embraced before, several times, this was different. This was new. There was a tenderness in the way he held me, like he was holding on to something precious. It made me feel safe, but stirred a deep protectiveness in me as well. Perhaps because CAISSA's father made it seem like there were people at every corner waiting to harm him. I will never let that happen. CAISSA's hand settled at the small of my back, and he buried his face in my hair for a long moment.
And you're feeling all right now? Jack said you were quiet after meeting with my father.
There was a lot to process, that's all. He talked to me about Deimos, and about... I trailed off, struggling to touch on the painful subjects Karis had broached with me.
About?
Just... you. I looked up at him helplessly, unsure what to tell him. I just didn't expect to see that side of him.
What side?
The side I think wants to be a father, but isn't sure how. He sighed and brought me closer again before taking my hand and leading me to the bed. He sat, stretching his legs out as he leaned against the headboard and patted the space beside him.
Let's not talk about him. I want to know what else you did while I was gone.
I crawled onto the bed and curled blissfully into his side as he wrapped an arm around me. With one of my arms draped across his waist, I laid my head on his chest. He let out a wistful sigh, a response that was somehow gratifying. I spent a lot of time trying to beat up Jack. His laugh rumbled through my head. We sat like that for a long time, talking. And tentatively, he touched on the subject of his father again, feeling out the conversation with careful awkwardness. Then seemed confused by what I told him. We were silent a while after that, and finally his slow breathing lulled me to sleep. I was only half awake when I felt the mattress shift. I knew he was laying me on the pillow, but I wasn't awake enough to call out as he got up. Aw. A few seconds later, the door shut with a soft click, and I drifted off again and slept. Aw, that was sweet. Although it's also kind of sad, because passionate ending, he, came back, and they snuggled, and things. I mean, they snuggled there, too, but you know what I mean. Different kind of snuggling. Still kind of sweet, though. Veli, 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 what am I doing with you? Oh, I'm being stubborn this time. Sure, why not? I'm really tired of this kind of thing. I have nothing to justify or prove to anyone here. CAISSA isn't a child. He doesn't need people to protect his feelings. And our relationship isn't your business.
Oh, I didn't know Delphine food was so nutritious. Even a brat like you could grow a spine.
Damn, Belly has the best lines.
But just because someone doesn't need protecting, it doesn't mean we won't do it anyway. Just remember that, newbie queen.
Everyone here was so annoying. He swept past me and rejoined Rowan, who was standing close by. No hug for me today. I barely had time to get my head around that when CAISSA found his way back to me. Are we back? We are back, okay. Hey Rory, good to see you again. Winter. Mr. Winter, what do I do with you? Ooh, no affection this time. Stubborn. That isn't what happened. I chose to come to Delphine.
I hope you can understand why I find that difficult to believe.
What reason do I have to lie to you? There's no one here but us.
It would be easy for someone to listen to our conversation via your nanosystem, wouldn't it?
Surely you've worked out that my nanosystem is mostly non-functional at the moment.
Ruben did say that seemed to be the case.
Winter watched me thoughtfully, keeping his arms crossed over his chest. Nope, not yet.
Your records indicated you relocated to Delphine, but I can't imagine why that would be the case. Your family's sudden relocation is also suspicious. And all of this coincides with the incident regarding that F-class rook in New Albion. What aren't you telling me? What happened that day, Miss Leone?
Detective Ashton, I hope you realize you're well outside your jurisdiction. I don't owe you answers. If you're really curious, you could ask Endgame. Or half a dozen other factions that were seeking me out that day.
Are the rumors true, then?
What rumors are those?
Word in Chestershire is that Crimson acquired a new queen rank. Could that be you, perhaps?
Acquired, huh? They were still treating me like an object. This was my choice. I hated that they wouldn't acknowledge that. Yes, that is me.
I don't understand how a student full of potential joins Crimson.
It's not something as simple as joining or not joining. It's complicated. I gave him a helpless look. People were coming after me. Trying to kill me, no less. Endgame literally grabbed me off the street and shoved me in a car, without telling me who they were, thank you. I was terrified. And then I was attacked and injured. I was scared and suffering a bad case of psi fatigue when someone offered me help. I came here because I didn't want to join Endgame. At first, I didn't realize I would end up being taken in by a family connected with Crimson.
But even knowing that now, you don't want to leave.
I chose this place over Endgame for a reason. Nothing changes that. And as a non-Esper, you can't understand how limited my options were, and are. Nothing changes that either.
Morgan, I can't let that...
Detective, you can't convince me you're here on official business to bring me back.
Well... no. We're not here in an official capacity.
Then you're going to have to take my word for it when I say it's fine. I'm fine. And I'm not leaving.
You have to understand why I can't just accept that answer. You've been held captive by violent criminals for weeks. It's not uncommon for captives to become attached to...
Oh my god. Okay, stop there. First, you don't know me well enough to psychoanalyze me, and telling me how or why I feel what I feel as if I'm incapable of being rational is patronizing at best. Second, that's a misrepresentation of a complicated situation. I'm not attached to Crimson, nor do I sympathize with Crimson's cause.
Then why are you rejecting my help?
Because what is waiting for me if I go back to New Albion with you? Endgame? I came here to avoid being forced to become a soldier in an organization I'm not sure is as good as everyone thinks it is.
You hate them enough to want to stay here.
I don't hate them, but let's just say my brief interaction with them didn't endear them to me. I want to avoid them enough to want to stay with the court, yes.
We have reports the court is aligned with Crimson, Morgan.
Those reports are wrong.
Do you truly believe we can let you stay here?
Do you truly believe you can make me leave? I like this is just back and forth of questions. Do you really want to be here? Do you think I don't want to be here? Do you know that you were captured? Do you think that I didn't make the choice? Back and forth, back and forth. It was great, though. Okay, so I'm doing this choice again. Fighting because I choose to is different. So suck it, Ruben. And then, Veli, what am I doing with you again? Ooh, okay. Being emotional. That's good. Don't have to be too mean to Veli this time. And we're getting to this sweet ending pretty quickly. And, again, just affectionate. Cool. Alright, that makes this pretty simple. And it's already, like, the final chapter. Okay, so he's calling her stubborn, questioning his sanity. You know you love it.
Alas, I fear it's part of the job sometimes.
I couldn't deny that.
Are you truly feeling okay?
Of course I am. I pulled away, giving him a scathing look. The amount you worry about me.
I can't help but worry about my family. I have precious little of it left.
I suddenly hugged him, burying my face in his shoulder. One of his hands passed over my back before he wrapped his arms around me and held me in place.
I wanted to tell you the public memorial for Father will be soon.
You finally picked a day?
Yes. I believe I've held off as long as is reasonable. Much of the family wishes to pay their respects, so we should allow them to do so. Do you think you'll be well enough to attend?
Of course I will. Besides, it would be a little strange if your fiancé didn't attend, right?
I'm sure we could come up with a reasonable excuse.
I think it would be best if I was there for other reasons, too. Though, I would prefer to attend as your fiancé than as Crimson's queen. But it wasn't that simple, because I was both at the moment. We had decided to continue to allow people to think our engagement was real. Oh, that stings. It was just more convenient that way. Not that we had any plans to actually marry soon. Oof. My cheek still burned at CAISSA using those words. The unspoken indication he expected we would stay together. And that we would marry. Eventually.
Have you spoken to your mother today?
I did this morning. She was glad to hear from me again so soon.
And how are they?
I knew what he was really asking. He was well aware they were fine. He wanted to know how they were accepting my current situation now that they had heard it from me personally. I spent most of the conversation being interrogated. Again.
I suspect that will be the case for a while yet. I dodged questions until now, but it was clear she wouldn't allow you to get away with the same.
Well, you gave them somewhat of an explanation of how I ended up here. But she still wants to hear it from me. I think she just wants me to assure her I'm truly all right here. That this is what I want.
I'm sure that any parent would want to know that about their child.
I gave him a gentle squeeze, hearing that catch in his voice. My parents seemed to amuse him at times, but there were moments sadness would creep into his voice when we discussed them. Sadness and, I think, envy. Envy that their uppermost concern seemed to be my happiness. Something that, for all that he did his best to ensure CAISSA's physical safety, Karis had never been able to give to him. We hadn't told my parents everything about the situation, of course. CAISSA told them I was discovered to be a high-ranking Esper, that I came here for my own safety because I didn't wish to join Endgame. That all had been during the blackout of my nanosystem. They didn't know much else, certainly not about Crimson. They believed CAISSA was merely the son of a rich philanthropist who learned of my situation by chance, and that he took me in. He had hinted that he was acquainted with an Esper who had ties to the court. Convincing them the court was a haven for Espers and not some cult had been interesting. But Mum could appreciate the hope of living a normal life and the idea of building a place Espers could do that.
I take it they're concerned.
There's no way they wouldn't be, but at least I chose this. I don't want to join Endgame. They can understand and appreciate that, and they know I have limited options now. In that regard, they can support my being here.
Provided you are able to continue studying.
I assured Mom that is the case. After all, my fiancé has quite a few connections.
He does. And speaking of that, the engagement. They seemed displeased with it previously.
Mum's come around. I mean, in her words, you're educated, wealthy, and extremely attractive, and I could have done much worse. I like that Mom is, like, more willing to accept it on the sweet ending than in the passionate ending. She's like, you could have done worse. He snorted, lips twitching.
She's not wrong, of course.
That said, they're both intent on meeting you. Soon.
I, too, got that feeling. I'll work on acquiring tickets and documentation. That shouldn't be a problem.
Are you alright with this? With me continuing to study and leaving Chestershire to you? I could... CAISSA covered my lips with his fingers before sliding his hand to cut my cheek.
Of course I am fine with you continuing to study here. We disrupted your life in ways that can never be undone. That you wish to stay at all is a gift. And I want you to be happy, Morgan. Even if that means you ultimately travel off-world as you've always planned.
Aww. There are areas of archaeological interest here in Delphine, and I want to stay here. Now that you've taken over Erythros Industries and Crimson, you're going to need me more than ever. I'll just have to find a way to balance studying and training. And my newfound life of crime.
I truly wish you and Jack would stop saying that.
I'm sure we will once it stops being funny.
It already has, I assure you. And you don't have to continue to train your psi abilities. Regardless of our plans in Chestershire, I have no intention of placing you on the front lines.
Even so, it would be wise to continue to get better at Psi. It's naive to think I won't encounter situations where those skills are needed. But I am glad I've been upgraded from a simple cannon to more than that. He sighed, giving me an irritated look.
You were never just a cannon.
I'm glad to hear it.
You were also an annoyance at the very beginning.
Excuse me? I hope you realize I'm stronger than you now, so you should be... He cut me off with a gentle kiss to my lips.
I appreciate the strength you give me, Morgan. And the hope. For the first time, it feels that the future here is wide open.
I agree. I leaned forward and kissed him again. Despite everything, I was really glad my choices led me to this point. Like CAISSA said, the future was wide open. And I was looking forward to finding out where it led. Aw, there we go. We got the sweet ending. Oh, I'm kind of sad. I'm definitely sadder with this sweet ending than I was with Ari's sweet ending. I don't know, it's just... I'm kind of bummed. She's, like, not as involved. The engagement's, like, kind of maybe, possibly, you know. Whereas with Ari, she was, like, they were still dating, and it just wasn't as physical, basically. Definitely not as physical with CAISSA on the sweet ending either, but it just had a different kind of bittersweet vibe, maybe, if that makes sense. I'm rambling. But I think Ari definitely wins the sweet ending portion for me so far. I think I can say that fairly confidently. But anyway, I still enjoyed it. There were aspects of that ending I really liked, like the alternate Karis discussion and the alternate CAISSA discussion on the bed. That was also kind of sweet. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed CAISSA's sweet ending. Now, to some not-so-sweet endings. We got 2 bad endings coming up, so hopefully I'll see you guys for that. Thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, I will see you later.